Hello and welcome once again to our weekly reflections coming to you from the Center for Ministry and Service at Regis College. This week we reflect on the wonderful passage from John's Gospel that talks about, "In my Father's house there are many dwelling places." We really would be remiss if we didn't begin this weekend by offering our welcome, our congratulations, and our kudos to the class of 2020. Congratulations on all of your achievements. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places, certainly in the gift of your education, in the gift of your dedication and your commitment. We see God dwelling in your lives, and we wish you the best in the life that is ahead for each and every one of you. We know it will be wonderful, we know it will be great, and we pray with you and for you each and every day in these difficult and challenging times. But you are the graduates of the class of 2020. Go for it. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. It's something for us to think about a little bit as we go through this pandemic and the coronavirus, because oftentimes we get a little despaired. We don't know where God is dwelling in all of this. We have lots of questions and we have very few answers. Is God dwelling in the scientific opinions about the pandemic? Is God dwelling in the medical opinions about the pandemic? Is God dwelling in the political opinions about the pandemic? Is God dwelling in the popular perception of the pandemic? In my Father's house there are many dwelling places, and you and I need to seek the places where God can be experienced in such a difficult and challenging time, both in the world around us, but also in our own lives. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. Where do I find God dwelling? In the fear, in the absence, in the loneliness, in the sickness, in the confinement, and oftentimes in the death of loved ones. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. What a challenge for each one of us. On the other hand, do we see God's presence in the encouragement, in the outreach, in the ways in which we touch one another, perhaps a telephone call, perhaps an email, perhaps a text that lifts us up? There are many dwelling places of God, but we have to look for them. We have to figure out where it happens, and it can become a source of strength, and it can become a source of encouragement. And oftentimes in our world today, how is it for us that we look at the presence of God? Where do we limit that presence? Where is it and how is it in whomever it is that we oftentimes do not experience the gift of God's presence? That the dwelling place of God escapes us, perhaps because of the ways in which we experience other people, people who speak different, people who look different, people who are from different parts of the world. In my Father's house, there are many dwelling places. There are so many rich and wonderful ways in which you and I can experience the gift of God's presence. And that's the call, and the call is a great challenge. I was out walking the other day, and all of a sudden I was enraptured by God's presence in the trees, the bushes, and the flowers. They don't last forever, but they are there for that fleeting moment when we see something deeper, something better, something more meaningful, and something more beautiful. In my Father's house, there are many dwelling places. Let's be conscious of that in the coming days. Let's be aware of it, and let's see where you and I can find out how God's presence doesn't leave us even in the more difficult times, and enhances us in the wonderful, challenging ways in which we are called to live through this pandemic. God bless, and I remind you again, for Sunday worship up until now, we can look at catholictv.org, we can look at University of Notre Dame, and we can look at St. Cecilia's in the Back Bay. Check on whatever one is helpful to you, and may God be present to each and every one of us in the coming days.